Hello and welcome back to my channel. With Christmas just around the corner, today I wanted to share some eco-friendly gift wrap ideas that you can DIY at home as a fun Christmas activity. So as we all know, Christmas tends to come hand in hand with a fair amount of waste, especially when it comes to gift wrapping. So I like to use as many natural resources as possible. So here I'm starting the process of creating some dried orange slices, which are great for Christmas decorations, whether it be for on the Christmas tree, on a wreath or garland, a table setting, or for using on your gift wrap. And you can use them year after year, or they can go into compost. So if you haven't made these before, they're really easy to do. Simply start by slicing up some oranges, however many you feel like you would need to create your desired decoration. Slice thickness can vary, but the cooking time will be less if your slices are thinner. Line a baking tray with some non-stick baking paper and then arrange your slices to cover the whole area. It's best not to have your slices touching so that air can circulate around them, ensuring that they dry out thoroughly. Blot the slices with some absorbent paper, whether it be paper towels or just some toilet roll, just to remove any excess moisture. If you have a dehydrator, then the chances are you'll have made these before, so I don't need to tell you what to do next. But if you don't have one, that's not a problem because you can do this using your oven. To dry the oranges out, we're going to go low and slow. So set your oven to 120 degrees Celsius or 250 degrees Fahrenheit and pop your slices in for around about 4 to 5 hours. Now again, this time will depend on how juicy your oranges are and how thickly you sliced them. Set yourself a timer, and if you can set a secondary timer to remind you to turn them every hour or so. Now, onto the wrapping paper itself. I prefer to make my own because in the same way as my candle making process, I can control exactly what I use and I can match the aesthetic of the gift wrap to the aesthetic of our home, which for me is very important. Now, I'm a big fan of craft paper because it's more structured, easy to customise in so many different ways, and it's totally recyclable because it's pure paper. Most wrapping paper, even in this modern day and age, is not actually recyclable in every county, even if it says so on the label. Some councils have more thorough recycling services than others, which can be a bit more on the basic side. You can use the scrunch test to estimate if your wrapping paper would be recyclable. Scrunch the paper into a ball, and if it stays tightly scrunched, then chances are it can be recycled. If it doesn't hold that scrunched up ball shape, then it's more than likely that it has an element of plastic in it and it cannot be recycled. For example, all foil or glitter gift wrap is not recyclable, so it is best really to avoid that or to keep used gift wrap to reuse for the following year. Now, I buy my craft paper in bulk rolls because it makes it much more cost effective. I'll pop the costings down below in the description box. There is an initial outlay cost, but then you have enough gift wrap, and not just for years and years worth of Christmases, but also for any other special occasion, because it's plain, so you can design it and customise it to suit any special event or theme. I start each piece of gift wrap by cutting the right amount of paper for the gift that it will be wrapping. Whilst you can use craft paper plain and as it is, you can also customise it. For customising my craft paper into a festive design, I like to use rubber ink stamps. I buy most of mine via Etsy and have some Christmas designs and then some other more generic designs which would suit other occasions. The most important thing when using stamps is the ink. So I use a children's crafting ink which is non-toxic and water-based, which means that when adding this to craft paper, it's still fully recyclable. You can buy all different colours of ink, from flat colours to metallics, so there's lots of different options to be creative and create a design which is unique to you. There's always something so special about putting in that extra bit of effort to personalise a gift, if of course you have the time to do so. I personally always really appreciate anyone that's handmade something and spent the time to create that gift. It's just incredibly personal. I usually start by testing out some of my stamps and various inks on some scraps of my craft paper just to get some ideas of what sort of colour ink to use on what colour paper and what designs of my stamps to pair together. In terms of stamps, there are millions of different designs and you can find and collect over the years to add to your collection. And it's not just the craft paper that you can use your stamps on. You could customise your Christmas cards and envelopes if you send them, and gift tags. Again, I have some generic card gift tags in various colours which I can then use my stamps on for whatever occasion. Now, once you finish stamping any paper or tags, just make sure you leave the ink to dry for at least a couple of hours to avoid any smudging. Once your paper design is dry, you can then use it to wrap your gifts. Now, as I mentioned earlier, one of the benefits of craft paper is that it's structured. So this means that it tends to keep its shape when folded and doesn't rip easily like any of the thin gift wraps that you can buy. I don't use any tape or glue when wrapping my gifts because, again, adding these kinds of substances or materials to gift wrap can make them non-recyclable. Instead, I use natural twine to keep the gift wrap in place, and this is something which can also be recycled, composted, or reused by your gift recipient. I also really love the aesthetic of twine when gift wrapping, and again, you can be really creative with it. I do actually have a Pinterest board full of Christmas gift wrap ideas for anyone that needs a little bit of inspiration, and you can find a link for that board down in the description box below this video, along with all my stamps and inks. Now, going back to that point I mentioned at the start of the video, using natural resources. We have a few plants and trees in our garden which I use for gathering some finishing touches for my gift wrap. We've got a large rosemary bush which we mainly use for cooking, but I also trim off a few sprigs to use on gifts. The same goes for our large spruce tree, which I also use for internal decor, and finally eucalyptus. These are all forms of foliage which smell incredible, so not only do they look nice, but they create a very sensory gift with their strong, rather festive scents. You can use the cuttings as little flourishes for the tops of your gifts. I usually tie mine into position using the twine that I've used to secure the gift wrap paper. If you want the cuttings to remain fresh for Christmas Day or whenever you exchange or open your gifts, then this could be the last thing to add to your gifts closer to that time. Now, I want to encourage those around me to reuse and recycle all elements of the gift wrap. So I bought this little stamp, again off Etsy, which now that the gift is wrapped, I'm going to stamp on the back. Another way you can add a little flourish to your gifts is with a wax seal. Now, I spent hours and hours, in fact it seemed like days, adding these to our wedding invites back in 2015. So I'm very well practiced with a wax seal. Most wax stamp handles have a thread on the bottom so that you can interchange the heads and collect different stamp designs. And again, just like the rubber stamps, these are little tools which you can use year after year and for various occasions if you get some generic designs as well as some festive ones. Now, I personally use wax beads and a mini melting pot because I love using this more traditional method. It makes me feel like I'm in Santa's workshop or something, but you can get more modern wax glue sticks to use in a glue gun. You simply melt the wax. I use 5 wax beads per seal and then pour into position. Wait a few seconds for the wax to slightly cool and then press your metal stamp into the wax. You can add foliage into the wax before stamping, or you could use it to attach your gift tag to a gift. Again, guys, so many endless design opportunities to really add that personal touch to a gift. Now, going back to those orange slices, a few hours have passed, they've finished in the oven, cooled down and fully dried out. So now I'm going to make a little hole and thread some twine through it and tie it to secure it in position. I've also added some rosemary to this gift to add a touch of green and also just for that beautiful scent. And finally finishing off with a plain black gift tag. So these are just a few ideas of what you can create using some really basic craft supplies. As I mentioned earlier, there is an initial cost for sort of the bulk paper and some stamps and ink to start off with, but then your supply will last you for years and for all different occasions. If you have kids, this could be a really fun Christmas activity that you can do at home every year. And if you don't, get yourself some festive snacks. Pop on that Christmas playlist, or if you're a murderino like me, a true crime podcast, because nothing says festive cheer like murder, and have yourself some festive me time. Thank you as always for watching, and Merry Christmas!